Hi guys, Sal the Spiritual Atheist back again. I want to start off with giving a shout out to Zwirtle, who has written some comments in my earlier videos and lives in Florida but found his way up to Maine for a vacation, and we hung out a lot together, and I enjoyed every single second of it, and I'm glad you made it home safely. And next I want to talk about something that's been bugging me. I'm going to call this whole video Atheism Minus. It's somehow atheists, or some people seem to think that atheism is a pinnacle of some type of thought process. It's like a mountain that has been climbed or whatever. And I got to tell you, that's simply not the way it is. There are a lot of rational people who are theists, who are more rational than many atheists. And I really, really think that, the idea of valuing atheism as a movement, I understand the necessity for protection from the onslaught of the theists who really desire to establish a theocracy in our country. I understand that. But at the same time, we have to understand that the real value here is rationality, reason, you know? And as an example, I'll give you an example. Down the street from me, and around the corner, you go down and there's a curve and then there's a house. And in that house lives one of the wisest men I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. He's a retired professor of theology. And obviously, as a non-believer, we don't have that in common. That he's a believer, I'm not a believer. But it's also obvious to me that he's much more intelligent than I am. And I really mean that. I'm intelligent enough to recognize when people are more intelligent than me. And he's a very, very wise man. So to think that just because someone is a believer that they are somehow lacking in intellectual insight is dishonest, I think, or at least disrespectful. I don't really, that doesn't mean, by the way, that I respect the beliefs, because I'm not a big respecter of Christianity particularly, or any of the Abrahamic religions. Excuse my tripping over my words again, but I started a new drug and it's affecting my outlook. Searching for words in the muck. I don't like painkillers so they're giving me this drug that's supposed to work on nerves, but I have to take it at night because that's when it does its changes in my outlook, I guess. I haven't got it totally under control yet. Oh, to get back now to religions. If we look at the theistic religions, the one thing they all have in common is a view of humanity as not good. Humans are seen as degenerate, demonic even, full of sin. Yeah, it's, original sin if you want, or whatever. The only way out for you is to bend your knee to the Lord God and obey. And the operative word there is obey. And it goes from the deity to the book, to the book's interpreters, what have you. That as long, that obedience is above all. And it bothers me some to see atheist groups taking up that same outlook, that we as people can't be trusted. We have to have hard and fast rules, and those who even question the necessity for the rules will be excommunicated from the group. So saith the high priest, in this case P.Z. Myers. And this is really what Atheism Plus is. It's atheism plus social ideals that any decent person would agree with. And I agree. In fact, I don't share Thunderfoot's aversion to feminism. I'm very much of a feminist, at least verbally. No, I think I'm really pretty much of a feminist. But at the same time, to sign on to something like that, where excommunication from the group, Atheism Plus excommunicates Thunderfoot, excommunicates Matt Dillahunty. Right? It's in my mind, the only reason I would ever have anything to do with them at this point is so I could be counted amongst that group. Yay, kick me out too, but of course I'm not in, and probably never will be. I don't see myself getting invited to these conferences and stuff like that. In fact, once I expressed some ideals of mine to an atheist group here in Maine, and I was informed that they were stupid and anti-atheist. The leader later apologized, but it was a political apology. I love the apology. If you were offended, we're sorry. Oh, I love that. But in any case, what we really, really need is to stand on our own, acknowledge the worth of others, understand that people of reason can disagree, and that's my professor friend and I. We really don't talk about religion that much, but we agree very much about politics, and we are political allies, if you want. And that works for us, and there's a mutual respect there, and I would like to see that duplicated. It's something that has bothered me, is the idea that because people believe something, that they are somehow faulty or irrational. And that may ultimately be true, but their irrationality is at such an infinitesimal point. It's like when I was starting to play poker. I forget the book that this came from, but it says, imagine to know everything about poker is 1,000 things to know, and you have learned 800 of them, and you're up against an opponent who's only got 100 of them. You're going to cream that opponent, all things being equal. But out of that 100 things that he knows is at least one thing you don't know that you can learn from. And if you miss that opportunity, you're the real loser. I had a doctor visit last week. I could do that every week, I guess. I go to doctors for this, that, and the other thing. It's but this doctor I'm really fond of. She is absolutely amazing. And as we were talking, she was talking about a search for truth. And I said, well, in order to search for the truth, you must first be true. Truth is a state of being as well as a state of knowing or perceiving. That if you're not being true, you're unable to perceive truth. That's just the way it is. And the thing is that there's no big deal about being true, because you don't need a book, or you don't need to meditate, or you don't need to ask someone's advice. You know already when you're not being true. You know when you're coming on. You know when you're being an ass. You know when you're being self-righteous. You know all these things. You know it at the time that you do it. All you have to do is stop. It's really just that simple. Just stop being untrue, and what's left is true. You don't even have to make an effort. And, one way, for instance, that you can deal with this is like when you find yourself angry about something, and you notice that you're also self-righteous about it. If you're angry and self-righteous, it doesn't matter whether in fact you're right or wrong. You're wrong. Get up the self-righteousness and see what happens to the anger then. And I look around today at atheists, politicians, everybody is making a career about being as self-righteous as they can. And that is such a total waste of time. I actually came very near to voting for a guy who was running for the state legislature, and there was a debate at our local library, and the librarian had forgotten to put an American flag up. And this guy went out of his mind. He had never been to such a group meeting where the flag was not present. It is an abomination. That's the word he used, abomination. Now, he was right. The library should have had the flag. It was an oversight. But can't you be right without being self-righteous? He couldn't, and he lost my vote. I mean, how could I possibly send somebody to Augusta, which is our state capital, to represent my views when he's going to get all self-righteous every time that he's right? That just doesn't make any sense. I'm rambling tonight. Again, I'm blaming it on the new drug because I can feel it, So I think we will kind of stop here. I'm going to play. I don't even know if this is good enough to go out. I'm going to play it back. You'll probably, it'll probably go. In any case, guys, be kind to yourselves. And, yeah, be kind to yourselves.